In today's lesson, we are going to discuss such fundamental programming construct as the while loop. So what exactly is a loop? Imagine that you need to repeat a set of instructions multiple times. So let's say I want to write calculator, but I don't want my program to close after the first set of actions. I want to give my user opportunity to repeat calculations several times. So in these curly brackets of my while loop, I'm going to write the code I want to repeat. So cout, enter two numbers. Let's create variables a and b, and let's read a and b. And after that, let's write to the console a plus b equal to, and our result 8 plus b. Let's also add here end line. Let's actually add end line twice to separate different iterations. And in the round brackets, I need to write some condition. While this condition is true, our loop will repeat itself again and again. So I actually want to create such calculator where my user can repeat this sum of the numbers again and again. So let's set condition true. And since my condition is always true, I created infinite loop. Let's build and run this program. And our program is asking us to enter two numbers. So let's enter numbers 2 and 3. And you can see result is 5. Let's now enter -1 and 8. And you can see the result a plus b is 7. And let's enter 0 and 6. And you can see result is 6. So we can repeat this code in the loop again, 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 and our program won't stop because we are in this infinite loop. So this infinite loop is of course very cool, but it's more useful to create loops that will be executed several times. Let's now, for example, create a program that will output to the terminal a countdown in seconds, from 5 to 0. For this purpose, I'm going to create variable seconds, and seconds will be equal to 5. And I'm going to write amount of seconds in the console. And after this, I will reduce my amount of seconds. I'm going to use decrements for this. And actually, you remember that when we discussed increments and decrements, we said that we can use increment and decrement as postfix and prefix. And if I use it as postfix in the line of code where we execute two operations at the same time, first we will execute first operation and then we will execute our decrement. So instead of 2 rows of code, I actually can write here 1 row of code like this. And we are going to execute this loop while seconds are bigger or equal than 0. Let's try to build and run this program, and you can see the result. Now we see the countdown in the terminal 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. But actually it will be more fun if I add some lag to my terminal, so I actually see seconds, so I will see each new number each second. For this purpose, I need somehow make my terminal to sleep for a second inside of my loop. So after we run loop once, we are going to make our program sleep for 1 second, and then we will run our loop second time. And here you may learn another very useful skill of a programmer is how to Google what you need. So pause this video, Google how to make your terminal sleep for 1 second, or how to create a delay of 1 second in your program, and then go back and we are going to compare our results. Okay, so I actually want to add a couple of strings to my program. Let's write to our terminal countdown starts, and let's add end line here. And then I don't want to add end line here, let's add actually space here. And after the execution of our loop, I want to write to the terminal another end line, and let's write finish and end line once again. Okay, and now we need to create this delay for our loop. For this purpose, I'm going to use a library called Chrono. Chrono is a library that provides us with access to date and time variables. And another library I'm going to use is the library thread. And now after my string where I write the seconds, I'm going to write the next string of the code, this thread, sleep 4. So that's actually why I needed this library thread to use this command sleep 4. It's part of thread library. And inside of the round brackets, I'm going to write chrono. As you remember, I need chrono library to have access to datetime variables. And I'm asking my program to sleep for 1 second. So this is my solution I found. If you found different solution how to make your program to sleep for 1 second, you may test it and write your results in the comments. Now I'm going to build and run this program to see the result. And you can see the result, countdown starts 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, finish. So we created very cool loop that count seconds, and of course you can change the amount of seconds you want to count. Let's say I want to count 10 seconds, and let's say for example I want to show not every second but every 2 seconds. So in this case we are going to change our program a little bit. Seconds minus equal to, and let's ask our program to sleep for 2 seconds. So let's now check the result, and you can see that now countdown starts 10, 8, 6, and now delay is actually 2 seconds and finish. So you can see how cool is this while loop, and there are plenty of options how we can use it. Let's for example use this while loop to calculate some mathematical function. So let's now create a program that will calculate factorial of number. For those of you who don't know what is factorial, I'm going to explain it in a second. So let's first of all ask our user to enter positive number, and I'm going to create a variable to store this positive number. Actually, since my number will be positive, I'm going to use type not integer but unsigned integer. Unsigned integer, it's also 16-bit integer, but it store only positive number or 0. Let's name our variable n, and let's read n from the console. And then I'm going to create a variable that will store the result of our calculation, our factorial of n. And to store this number, I'm going to use type unsigned long integer. It's 64-bit integer because actually we need more memory to store our factorial. So what is factorial? For those of you who don't know, it's such function. Usually it's written as n and this exclamation sign, and factorial is equal to n multiplied by n minus 1 multiplied by n minus 2 and so on, multiplied by 1. So you can see there are lots of multiplications. That's why I used long integer. So we are going to allocate more memory to store the result for our factorial. And since you can see that factorial of n is the multiplication of n multiplied on n minus 2, we can actually already initialize our factorial with n, and in my loop I'm going to multiply factorial on minus n. So first I'm going to reduce n by 1 using this prefix decrement, and then I'm going to multiply factorial on n, and I'm going to repeat this action while n is bigger than 0, end line. Okay, so let's build and run our program to test our result. So let's think what numbers we can test. If n is equal 1, factorial is equal to 1. If n is 2, n is, from this formula, is 2 multiplied by 1, so factorial of 2 is 2. If n is equal to 3, we are going to get 3 multiplied by 2 by 1 is 6. So we are going to test all these cases. So enter positive number, let's enter 1, and you can see that result is 0. so something is wrong. That's why it's always nice to test your program with different numbers. Let's think why we got 0 in this case. So if n is equal to 1, we initialized our factorial with 1, and then we check that n is bigger than 0, and we multiplied factorial on minus minus n, so we multiplied here factorial on 0. So there are two ways how we can fix this code. We can decrease n by 1 here after assigning it to factorial, and here we are going to use postfix instead of prefix, or we can change the condition in our loop while n is bigger than 1. Let's once again build and run our program. So enter positive number. Let's enter 1, and factorial is equal to 1. Let's enter positive number 2, and factorial is 2. Let's enter positive number 3. You can see result is 6. Enter positive number. Let's check 4. Result for 4 is 2 multiplied by 3 by 4 is actually 24. Everything is okay, but let's now check what will be the factorial of 0, because factorial of 0 also exists, and by definition of factorial of 0 is equal to 1. And it's actually a special case. There are several motivations why factorial of 0 is defined as 1. That's why I need to change our program a little bit for this special case. So we check that if n is equal to 0, factorial of 0 is 1. You remember that we learned conditional operator in previous lesson. So let's write here factorial is equal to, we're going to check if n is equal to 0. If so, factorial will be equal to 1. If not, factorial will be equal to n. And here I can change enter non-negative number. Let's build and run our program. Once again, let's check factorial of 4. You can see it's still 24. But now if I try to calculate factorial of 0, it's equal to 1. So I hope this information really helped you to understand how useful is the while loop. In second part of our lesson, I want to show you the modification of the while loop called do while loop. So in the while loop, you can see that first we check our condition, and if this condition is true, we execute code in these curly brackets. And if this condition is false, we are not going to execute this code. But what if I want first execute code and then check condition after executed this code? And for this purpose, we are going to use loop do while. To use the do while loop, first we are going to write keyword do. After do, we write our code. We are going to repeat in the curly brackets. And after this code, we write while and our condition. And what's going on in this program now? Now we execute our code in our curly brackets, and then we check our condition. And if condition is true, we once again execute this code, and then once again we check if condition is true. If it's true, we execute this code. So let's, for example, try to build and run this program, and you can see I got error in the line 18, because actually if you use do while loop, you need to add semicolon after the while. And now let's build and run our program again. Now it's working, and let's once again enter some non-negative number. If we try to enter 4, you can see that it's still working. Result is n factorial is 24. But if, for example, now I try to enter 1, you can see that now my program is not working at all. That's because, once again, first we executed code in the curly brackets. We multiplied our factorial n equal to 1 on 0. and then we finished our loop execution. So do while loop is not suitable in this case. So in which cases we actually need to use do while loop? You need to use do while loop only and only in that cases when you want to guarantee the execution of your code at least one time. To show you an example, let's go back to the normal view of our program. Okay, now it should work. So you remember that at the beginning I asked my user to enter non-negative number, and let's say I want to check if this number is actually non-negative, and if my user entered some negative number, I'm going to ask him to do it again. So I'm going to move my declaration of the number higher, then I'm going to write do while loop, and in the do I'm going to execute this code. I'm going to ask my user to give me some non-negative number, and I'm going to read this number. And I'm going to repeat this code if n is less than 0. Okay, what will happen here? Let's actually change the type of our variable to integer so we can store both positive and negative numbers. And then I'm going to enter to my do while loop. I will ask my user to enter non-negative number. He or she will enter some number if this number is negative, and I'm going to repeat this again and again till my user will give me non-negative number. Let's now try to build and run our program. And of course, again, I forgot to add semicolon after do while loop. Okay, so my program is asking me enter non-negative number. Let's once again run several test cases. If I enter 4, you can see I immediately have result, and factorial is equal to 24. If I enter 0, you can see result 0 factorial is 1. And if now I'm going to enter some negative number, -2, you can see that my program again asking me enter non-negative number. I'm entering -3. Still my do while loop is asking me give me please non-negative number. And if I enter 5, finally I have result for my factorial, and factorial is equal to 120. I hope that now you understand the difference between while and do while loop. So if you still have any questions regarding while and do while loops, just ask them in the comments, and I'm going to see you in the next lesson.